Tonight, on the first ever edition of The Last Word, United get surprised, City get life, Arsenal get a point, Liverpool and QPR get stuffed, Spurs get nothing. We love that. We love that. I got the Premier League for you. I got the Football League for you. I got discussion. I got Sports World. It's all right here on The Last Word. First ever edition. I'm excited. I'm really excited. Yeah. Love a bit of guitar, me. So yeah, here we are. The Last Word, first ever edition. I'm excited. My name's Kwam. Everyone knows that, I'm sure, that's listening to this first edition. And you all know I love a good natter about football, so I decided to make it official. So thanks to everyone that's already following on the Twitter. That's at The Last Word, LDN. Make sure you tell all your mates to get involved and follow that as well. Because hopefully this will eventually turn into our last word, not just mine. So yeah, I'm going to start with obviously the obvious place to start tonight is nowhere else than tonight's game. And interesting result. I mean, I said in the intro it was a surprise, but I mean, you can never write Everton off. And when Big Fellaini's in that mood, that big strong boy with this Samson afro, it's a myth for defenders. Defenders up and down the league know that. You can tell by the way they defend him. Tonight the boy came good. So, I don't know. Arsenal were in crisis after drawing their first game, so I'm assuming that Man U's set to explode anytime soon. But we'll see about that. Let's have a look at this little BBC match report. I don't really give a fuck about this because this is their words, not mine, but we'll have a look at it. Yeah, there's Fellaini. Yeah, son, get in there. Excellent performance from the boy Fellaini. And the talk on Twitter was a mixture of shock and, I suppose, everyone who saw him before in Eurosport wasn't really that surprised at the performance. But, yeah, I mean, mixed emotions and mixed responses about Fellaini, which I couldn't understand, because all I could see was Fellaini first half and second half. It was unbelievable. Yeah, it's all Fellaini in this, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, Everton 1, Man United 0, was how it finished at Goodison Park. Van Persie came on, that was sickening, wasn't it? I know all my fellow Gooners were retching at that one. It just looks so wrong, doesn't it? With his spindly legs in that horrible Man U kit. It's fucking horrible, mate. But it is what it is. He's gone. I wouldn't read anything into tonight's performance, to be honest. I mean, if we see that sort of thing going on 20 games in, it will be very encouraging indeed. But I don't see it. I just think they're all quality ballers. And I'm just a bit concerned, generally speaking, about, obviously, Arsenal's chances. Yeah, if you didn't guess already, I'm an Arsenal fan. Yeah, let's get that one out of the way. Sorry, not even an Arsenal fan, a Gooner. So yeah, that's important distinction. But yeah, I mean, Van Persie came on, looked a little bit Bambi-esque. But as I say, I'm not going to read anything into that performance. It's early days yet. And really, that would be an absolute schoolboy to look into that sort of thing. Anyway, we'll leave that there. Everton 1, Man U 0, it finished. I thought it was a good game. I enjoyed it. It's always good to see United lose. And yeah. So moving on to yesterday. I think we'll go with the first game from yesterday. It was a bit of a non-event, really. It was pretty much done after 7 minutes. You know, Wigan do that, really, don't they? They do that against every big club. Against every big club except Arsenal. It's amazing. Maybe we just allow all these teams to just have all FA Cup finals against us. But yeah, no, they laid out the red carpet for Chelsea. They said, here you go, Eden, get yourself a touch in, get your eye in, get round our defender. There you go. Oh yeah, nice. Into yeah. 1-0 already. Nothing. I mean, Premier League, it's got to be a bit harder than that, surely. I don't know that much about playing in the Premier League, you know. I've never played in it, but I would have thought it would be a little bit more difficult to score than that. But I digress. Yeah, it was all Eden Hazard in that first 7 minutes, wasn't it? What a performance by the Belgian lad. Yeah, really terrorised them, or more like some Spanish defender didn't quite get his bearings right and absolutely barreled through him for some reason, which I'm yet to ascertain. I mean, I can't really see where there was that much danger that he had to go flying in like that, but alright. Lampard, obviously, doesn't matter how he hits them or how they go in goal, and that was it really. I can't really remember too much from that game. Probably fell asleep at some point or went out, don't know. Didn't really matter either way. As I said, the game was finished after 7 minutes. Wigan 0, Chelsea 2 at the DW Stadium. And then I think probably the game of the weekend, actually, at Eastlands. I mean, that was fantastic. Because before the start of the season, right? Before the start of the season, everyone who's been seeing my Twitter and has been seeing the way I've been tweeting and that knows that I've been having serious doubts about my motivation about football. And really, we should have known it was all probably a little bit of gas. The thing about not caring about Arsenal, that stands, because I can't go through that emotional turmoil this year. There's too much on my plate already, do you know what I mean? I can't with Arsenal. But as far as football goes, nah. Games like that yesterday are just it's just brilliant. Southampton went out there, and I never really thought it was going to be anything but what they did. I didn't really expect them to go there and just try and sit there and just try and soak it up, because they just have got battered, basically. I mean, from watching them last season, and people always say, oh, it's surprising when, didn't that promoted team do well and go to the champions and give a really good account? I wouldn't have expected that. Well, why not? If you think about it, they were the champions of the championship, so they were used to winning, home and away. So just because they're in a different league, it doesn't mean the pitches have got any bigger, or the players have got any harder, or the ball's got any, I don't know, bigger or whatever. I mean, it's the same dimensions. It's football. At the end of the day, they're on a winning run or in a winning mentality from the last season. It carries on, absolutely. So they went out there, they played their football. Yeah, they rode their luck a little bit with the first penalty. Obviously a stick-on penalty. About that penalty by Villa though. What happened to him? Did someone kneecap him before as he's gone up to that ball or what? Like, he's kicked that about as hard as I'd expect my 5-year-old cousin from Manchester to do so. You know, I mean, he didn't get hold of it at all. In fact, he didn't even get a fingertip on it, let alone hold of it. Shocker. In the end, it didn't matter. But, yeah, it was a great game of football. I mean, obviously City took the lead, blah, blah, blah. Then Lambert comes on. The boy Lambert, with his barrel chest, comes on. All of a sudden, I just see a couple man suddenly get a few inches taller in that Southampton squad. All of a sudden, I see man like Lambert in the penalty box. All of a sudden, he's passing it into the net like he was doing all of last season, and the season before that, and the season before that. It's like I say, like, football is football, you know. The dimensions don't change, nothing like that changes. You know what I mean? So there's no point being surprised or being shocked at a great performance by a promoted side like Southampton. In fact, they should be congratulated. If not expected, then congratulated. So then they go 2-1 up with another super sub. All of a sudden it's on. The fairy tale wins on. But then normal service resumes itself. It just had to be that prick at the end, didn't it? That Nasri boy at the end, didn't it? But c'est la vie. Finished 3-2 at the Etihad Stadium. And that's probably the result that they wanted. to be fair to them, I mean, 3 points is 3 points is 3 points. Moving on to Saturday's games. And talking about 3 points is 3 points. No price at all where I'm going first with this one from Saturday's games. I mean, the problem is, and there's gonna be more discussion on this later, obviously, in the discussion part, because that was always gonna be what happened. But if you come into a club like Arsenal and you want to play striker for Arsenal, I don't know why you want to start letting your mouth do the work before your feet or head does. So this boy Giroud, I don't even know what his first name is. Is it Anthony Giroud or Florent Giroud or whatever his name is? Apparently, he seems to think that it took 7 years for Van Persie to settle in. Fair enough. Trying to get in with the fans, bit of banter. I don't rate it. Maybe some other people do. What I'd like is when you get into the 18-yard area and the goal's in front of you, for you to put the ball on target, mate. And then you can crack as many fucking jokes as you want. Until then, I'd like you to keep your head down, boys, and get 3 points, like what Man City did when they got outplayed for large periods of that game. Because we didn't even get outplayed on Saturday. From what I saw, and that's not much because I missed Match of the Day. Funny story, I'll tell you another time. I missed Match of the Day. I missed Football First and all the other ones. So I didn't get to see much of the highlights actually until Sunday. And from what I could see, there was a lot of forward thinking and forward going play. Fair enough. Great. Sometimes games like that happen and sometimes they're 0-0. Great, okay, fine. First game of the season, you can say that people are just warming in and getting into their stride and all this KKK. We're Arsenal, it's supposed to be Arsenal Football Club. All this thing about getting into the stride. Listen, I'm too old for all that because I can remember when Arsenal used to blitz teams 3-0 and it didn't matter whether it was pre-season, mid-season, high season, low season, blue season, purple season, whatever season. You know what I'm saying? So that argument doesn't really wash with me. Fair play to Sunderland. I won't say they parked the bus. You can't really. I suppose the argument is you can't really come out and play football against Arsenal, although I don't see why not nowadays anyway. But they got what they wanted from the game. 0-0 finished at the Emirates, and good result for them really. Over to now. I'll leave Liverpool for later because that we all enjoy laughing at Liverpool. Even the Liverpool fans, we all know that. Let's go to Craven Cottage, where Chris Hughton. I feel for the lad, to be honest. He's in it deep this time. I mean, he's got a settled squad this time. There's no rescue job this time, as they were saying with Norwich, and he's got well and truly piped down at Craven Cottage. 5-0. And who's that Croatian guy they've got again? That new guy. Oh, what's his name? It's not Klasnic. It's not Petric. This is gonna be. Oh, it is Petric. Mladen Petric. Quality, good footballer he is. When he was at was it? I'm doing really well here. First show, you know, information's bang on here. When he was at one of them German teams, I think it was Werder Bremen. Quality footballer, just like Klasnic, you know, got a good left foot, good technique. It's that sort of Baltic techers. And yeah, it really came to the fore. I mean, what can you say about that? 5-0. Norwich, you pretty much just say, yeah, first game of the season. It happens, we'll wipe that off. 5-0 it finished. Craven Cottage. Straight over to the other part of West London, and not quite such a good result for the home team. Oh dear. Rangers 0, Swansea 5. And those new signings look proper. That Mishu looks mustard for Swansea. Dyer's on it. And Wayne Routledge, that was some proper come back to my old club mission, wasn't it? He was just, every time I looked, he was bombing down the left or the right and just feeding Mishu. That second Mishu finish, how about League of Tech? Love it, mate. Open your body up, give yourself the best chance to hit the side, and then hit it. Yeah, I'll take that all day long. Again, same for Norwich really, for QPR. Just, yeah, alright, cool, this happened last season. We got done 0-4 by Bolton. Who stayed up, who went down? That's the way I'd look at it if I was them. 0-5 at Loftus Road was that final score. So, to the Medeski Stadium. Good to see Reading back in the Premier League. I like Reading personally. Even though I didn't get into Queen Mary, pricks. But that wasn't such a loss in the long run. But I like Reading Football Club. I like Brian McDermott. He seems an honest sort of manager. They've got an honest side. Le Fondra's a good player. Good, busy, sharp player. I'll be interested to see how he does in the Premiership this year, actually. Because some people might put him in the same category as the lad that Southampton have got, Billy Sharp, but I think there's a little bit more to Le Fondra's game. I think he's a little bit sharper, better finishing, I'd say, as well. I mean, you give Sharp, I mean, Fox in the box credentials are gay, fair enough, but I don't think he's got it at this level personally, Billy Sharp. I just don't think there's quite enough in his locker, whereas Le Fondra may just have something there, so I'll be interested to see. Federici didn't have whatever it was in his locker. He definitely left that in his chest of drawers at home, mate. Don't know what he was thinking about on that first goal, but I reckon I could have saved that if you had woken me up at 7 AM, having slept for 10 hours, given me a pair of gloves and shoved me in a goal 2 minutes after waking me up. I'm pretty sure I'd have caught that ball. So he'll be pretty disappointed with that, but he will not be disappointed with the result. Last minute pen, calmly tucked away by that boy Le Fondra, and yeah, 1-1 it finished at Medeski Stadium, Reading v Stoke. Now, when you all love a bit of lollipop, they never fail to entertain, and Saturday was no different. And I actually feel a bit for them because they were good first half. If Suarez puts away that header that he should really have put away, I think they had a couple other chances as well. So let me just have a quick swig here. Just give me a moment. Thank you very much. Yeah, I mean, if he'd put those chances away, it's a different game. But Aga had to go, although that was a free kick. You could argue maybe they don't score that and it's a different game or whatever. But then by the same token, they already 1-0 up thanks to a worldie by a man like Zoltan, who's always had that in his locker. And B, they actually missed that penalty anyway. So it's kind of a moot point, really. I think the key point is you lot probably want to defend a little bit better than you do. The second pen, at first I thought it was a pen, then I, saw it and thought it wasn't a pen, and now I am not sure, because on the one hand, you know, you can say he should be taking better order in that area of the pitch, Skirtle that is, like it's a bit of a crap point to say, oh well, he never saw him, because I mean a player would get booked for elbowing someone despite claiming he might not have seen him in the air. I mean, it's a bit of a, if you look at it that way, then it's probably a bit of a moot point. On the other hand, I don't see how, not me personally, or the argument would be that I don't see how it can possibly be a foul if the guy is going to kick the ball and another man's nipped it away from you as he's kicking it. I mean, fair play, that's pretty unavoidable. Once you made your mind up to kick a football, that's pretty much it. And yeah, that's true. From experience, that's 100% true. But I just think that you've got to take better order there. I mean, if you're messing about in that area of the pitch, you're going to get punished. I've got no qualms with that. Maybe that's because Forwards Union or whatever. But if you're going to mess about in that area of the pitch and something bad happens, then you take that punishment, and that's probably where I'd sit, at probably just that side of the argument. But it's a really close one, that second one. What wasn't close though was the scoreline, and Brendan Rodgers and Liverpool are going to have a look at that, because there was too many of those games last season and the season before that they got slapped as well, getting all 3-0 at West Brom and that. So have a think about that, guys. In the meantime, we're all going to be creasing. 3-0 it finished at the Hawthorns over to Upton Park, and it finished West Ham 1, Villa 0. Wasn't very happy about that result. It was on my betting slip as a Villa win. Don't ask, I won't tell. I suppose congratulations to West Ham back in the Premier League. Seemed like a solid enough performance. I mean, that's the problem with Villa. As soon as they lose the first goal, you pretty much know that's going to be it. Bent or no bent, it just seems like there's just so much of that stain of McLeish that's just still left on that club. It might take a few games to get rid of it, but if there's one man that can, I mean, it's probably Paul Lambert. Again, time will tell, but I'd say that's probably the correct decision in terms of a managerial choice for Villa. He might need a bit more money, to be honest, because I don't think those players are good enough, too many of them. The likes of, I suppose, Kieran Clark, Stephen Ireland, they just don't really look like they care, you know. So something for them to think about. But anyway, for the meantime, for them, they'll want to go away from that result and look to next week, I guess. 1-0 it finished at Upton Park between West Ham and Villa. Last but not least, because again, on a personal level, this is always very satisfying to report. I'm pleased to announce that Tottenham went down 2-1 away to Newcastle. And it was a case of the old guard, really, for Newcastle. And Pardew's done an absolutely fantastic job. If he gets to September and all those players are still in his squad, unbelievable. The amount of... he must have been sweating during summer like Van Persie would be if he was walking down Drayton Park right now. I mean, I tell you, people would have been in for Bar, they would have been in for that other boy Cisse, they would have been in for Cabaye, for Tiote, for Ben Arfa. The list just goes on, and he's kept them all together so far. Whatever he's telling them is excellent. He's got the right stuff in their ear, because I believe if he does keep them together, they are absolute problem for this Premier League, Newcastle Football Club. Especially that starting lineup. No side in the land is going to think that's an easy game. No chance. They're quality. And they showed it again on Saturday. I mean, Tottenham came out, they had a go and whatever, but fuck Tottenham, innit? And it was that man Ben Arfa to stick the final nail in the coffin. Buried the penalty. That was always good to see. And yeah, it was just all pleasing, really. The only slight blip was the equaliser. I can't remember who scored it. I'm not bothered, to be honest. Someone who plays for Tottenham. But yeah, excellent result for Newcastle. It looks like they've hit the ground running again from last season. Tottenham are just pretty priceless. I mean, you get the best manager you've had for years and you replace him with some guy who couldn't do it at Chelsea, but maybe it'll work for you guys, who knows. Anyway, 2-1 it finished at St James's Park, which concludes the Premier League roundup. So, let's go straight into the Championship. I'm only going to pick from this Football League section, I'm going to pick a couple of the games which really just stand out for me personally, because obviously there isn't as much interest in those games, but I mean there should be, because there's quality down there. There's absolute quality down in the Football League. That I'm in no doubt about whatsoever. So I think first of all, I'm just going to go with the early kickoff because it involved one of the teams who just dropped out of the Premier League. And actually Wolves weren't that bad from what I saw. Leeds scored a pretty good goal. I didn't see the whole game, but Leeds scored a good goal. You can't argue with that sort of play, really. I suppose you could argue that maybe cut out the ball from the goalkeeper to the wide man, but I'd just more like I'd prefer to hold my hands up and say well played. That's what settled that game. Just the one goal for the Leeds, scored by Becchio, and no, Wolves look like they'll be okay. I think they'll challenge. They'll be really right up there trying to get back into the Premier League come the end of the season, I think. Obviously, whatever the case, is too early to say, but the new man in charge at Wolves, Solbakken, he's made one or two decent signings, it looks like. They've got a wide player, it's called Pejnik or something like that, or Pechnic. He looks good, he looks sharp, he looks like he's got a bit of quality at that level as well, so I expect them to challenge. Good to see Charlton actually back in the Championship. And I wasn't even bothered about them messing up our betting slip because Liverpool had already done that for me. But yeah, good to see them back in the Championship. They drew 1-1 away at St Andrews, away to Birmingham. Palace. Disappointing Palace. Because I was looking at it, I've seen a bit of them in pre-season, like literally the smallest bit, and they looked sharp. And then they had their League Cup game, and they looked good in that as well. And they started this one well enough too on the weekend. They went 2-1 up, couple of goals from their midfielder Garvin, but then got pegged back right at the last bit by Watford. Congratulations, I guess, to Gianfranco Zola back in management. That was his first game there at Watford. Come away with an away win. Fair play to him. And Millwall 0, Blackpool 2. I mean, before the game, that was one I forgot to put on my betting slip, but I did fancy the away win, and so it proved. And it seems like the stock of Thomasins just continues to rise and rise. That's another one. If Ian Holloway gets to September and he's still got Tom Ince in his squad, I think he might buy a new house to celebrate it. Oh God. Anyway, that's the Championship. I think I'm gonna leave that there. Into League One we go. Leyton Orient lost, didn't they? They got turned over, 3-1 away at Tranmere. Don't know about that, looks like another difficult season down there. What else we got? Sheffield United started with a win, home to Shrewsbury. They had playoff disappointment last year, didn't they? Just falling at that last hurdle. Doncaster down from the Championship, 3-0 winners away at Walsall, so they're off to a good start. Crawley as well, and they're going for back-to-back promotions, a la Southampton, and they started by whacking Scunthorpe 3-0 at home, and that's a pretty big statement of intent, I'd say. Pretty impressive indeed. They've lost their manager and a few players, but doesn't seem to be to their detriment. Another of the teams coming down from the Championship, Coventry, were away at Yeovil and they drew 1-1. Solid enough start for them, I suppose. And finally, Portsmouth, who we will hope will even still be in business come this time next month. And they performed an absolute miracle pretty much to get a 1-1 draw at home to Bournemouth. Now, if you haven't heard this story, the Portsmouth manager, Michael Appleton, had to sign all these starting players 48 hours before the fixture kicked off, and another 4 subs. So he signed 15 players 2 days before their first match of the season, and they've gone out there and gone 1-0 up and should have been 2 and 3 up. It was, full credit to them. I mean, I can't knock that. That's a great effort, great shift by them, and we just hope that they'll be stable going forward, really. I think that will do for League One. Finally, but by no means least, because there were some absolute techers in League 2 as well, we're going to go through a couple of these results. I love how they put Wimbledon now, not even just AFC, Wimbledon. Wimbledon started their league campaign with a 1-0 win at home to Chesterfield. Jack Mitton was the goal scorer. It's not written there, but I just know that because I'm such an anorak. Big up Wimbledon. We want to see you back in the Premiership, trust me. Yes. Gillingham 3-1 winners at home to Bradford. Shout to the Kent Massive. That was a pirate radio moment if ever there was one. Alright, we got Southend. They opened up with a 0-1 reverse at home to Accrington. They won't be very pleased with that. They were playoff participants last season. Barnet, oh dear. Oh dear. Looking like another long season for Barnet. Yeah. They've gone down 3-0 in their first game away at Port Vale. And that's this club I've always got a soft spot for. You know, there's a good connection between Arsenal and Barnet from way back, and I always like to see Barnet do well, so hopefully Barnet will stay in the league for another season. I'm sure they can do it. York, new up from the conference. They went down 1-3 at home to Wycombe, which is no real surprise given that Wycombe just dropped down from League One, and they've still got most of their firepower from what I hear. And the other new boys, Fleetwood, who I rate because their stadium's called Highbury and they play in an Arsenal kit, opened up their season with a 0-0 draw at home to Torquay, who were also in the playoffs last year, so that's a very good start by them. And actually it's funny in these lower leagues how teams who just get promoted are instantly made promotion favourites again, and then more often than not do it. So it will be interesting to see whether Fleetwood can emulate Crawley and go up into League 1 at the first time of asking from League 2. Anyway, that's the league roundup. So what I'm going to do is get into these discussion topics now. And I've got 3 this week. I had one off Tell as well, which I'm going to use next week, which is quite interesting actually. But obviously the first one is, as I touched on earlier, we're going to talk a little bit about Arsenal, because that's it's like admitting that I've got genital warts. Yeah, I support Arsenal. I'm an Arsenal fan, yes, and we're going to talk tonight briefly, or I'm going to talk tonight about whether Arsenal FC should just rename themselves to Arsenal Feeder Club or Arsenal FC or something else that I haven't thought of right now. Now let's look at this, and it's not just this season or last. I mean, the story for me starts with Gilberto Silva, I think, because that was the first part of the Rolls-Royce engine that was stripped out and replaced with a Lada part eventually. Although we did have some pretty good parts in between. Cough, cough, Lassana Diarra, who now starts for Real Madrid. But the story starts with him and it's just continued. It seems as though there's some sort of agenda at the club. I'm not sure what this is. I mean, this is pure conjecture at this point. I'm literally just throwing it out there because it's just weird now. I mean, it's like we're literally feeding our rivals with the cream of our talent. You know, Fabregas goes to Barcelona, Kleb goes to Barcelona, Overmars goes to Barcelona, Van Bronckhorst goes to Barcelona, Vieira goes, Anelka goes, Edu goes, Gilberto goes, Pires goes. You know, all these players. And then moving on, Nasri leaves. And then Van Persie's allowed to leave. And then Song's allowed to leave. And where's the replacements? And I'm not suggesting that the way forward is to go out and spend a hatful of money just on some name just because they're telling everyone that they're the best, aka Eden Hazard. What I'm saying is, if you take a part out of a Rolls-Royce engine, put the same part back in. That's all I'm really saying about that one. I mean, as far as Van Persie goes, I just don't understand how it's feasible for him to be allowed to leave us to go to our biggest rivals. It just it's unfathomable. You know, just picture it the other way around. Wenger rings up Fergie. He says, "Any chance of taking Rooney?" Just, what's the reaction? I don't even know. There's about 50 I can select from. All of them derisive in Wenger's direction. All of them, "You fucking idiot. What are you doing on the phone to me? Piss off. I've got something to shoot in the garden. It's summer. Rooney's not for sale. Buy. Click." Like, it's just never going to happen. It's very unsettling. And questions have to be asked. Because, fair play, we all knew Van Persie was going to leave. We all knew that, you know, he's got ambitions of winning things. And I'll never begrudge him that, because at the end of the day, it's like so many things. You only get one football career, and literally there's only one chance to be in your prime, I guess, and he's that at the moment. He's absolutely in his prime, and there's no denying that he wanted to do it with Arsenal. There's absolutely no denying that he wanted all the success and the glory and all that with Arsenal, but it's just, there's two main problems. I mean, for me, I was talking to my friend about this as well, and like, he's of the opinion that Bergkamp would have handled himself differently over this. And I'm sorry, but Dennis Bergkamp has to be the yardstick, because that's what everyone's aiming towards, especially Van Persie. That sort of legacy is what he would have been aiming at, I'm sure. So, my friend's of the opinion that Dennis Bergkamp might have handled it differently. Me personally, I'm not so sure. Like, jury's out on that one. I've got a feeling that if Bergkamp had to play with shitters like Ramsey and Walcott and all these other ones, he might have had something to say as well. But that's another story for another time. Okay, that's one. I think the main point is Bergkamp would never have allowed himself to go to Manchester United from Arsenal. I know he's probably a professional footballer and all this and that, the other as well. I just can't see it happening though, because I think to that sort of player, legacy is that much more important. I don't know. It's just a strange one, allowing him to go. It's not so strange that Van Persie wanted to go to Manchester United, but it's absolutely baffling that the board could have sanctioned that. I'm sure you didn't want another episode like last season where clubs were holding out until the last days of August and all this. It would honestly have been preferable to have had that over him going to Manchester United, and that is, I'm sure a lot of Arsenal fans would agree with me on that one, because this just stinks. It absolutely stinks rotten to the core, and I'd love to have some evidence to back up my claims, but it just does not feel right. It's just the sort of thing that 10 years ago would have been absolutely unheard of. Like, it just wouldn't have happened, you know? It simply wouldn't have happened, and there's got to be a lot of questions asked. A lot of people need to have a look at this and themselves and wonder what the hell they're playing at, doing, sort of thing. So, are Arsenal FC due renaming? Is there a fire sale going on? I don't know. I mean, are people trying to line their pockets from one venture or another? I don't know. Again, I haven't got papers in front of me to say that person X wants this amount because he put it into that, this or the other. So it's all surmisation, but it doesn't feel right. I don't see, excuse me, I don't see Tottenham, offloading Luka Modric to Chelsea, even though his initial wish last season, if we all remember, was to go to Chelsea, because Tottenham know that they don't want one of their best players fucking them up later down the line. Whatever, innit? Maybe I don't understand football anymore. That's possible. That's definitely possible. Maybe I just don't get it. Maybe I'm missing something here. So, like, if you think I'm missing something here, listening to this, and you think you can tell me something I'm missing here, can you please just tweet it to me at the last word LDN, and just please enlighten me, because I've got absolutely I'm lost. I don't understand what Van Persie's. Look, I can't. I'm even losing the power of speech now. It's so confusing. Van Persie was in a Man United kit tonight. What? Anyway. I'm going to leave that there for now. Moving on. And if you follow football, I'm sure you would have tripped over this topic that I'm going to talk about next. It's funny, I can't even remember how I tripped over this, but it was during the summer. It was around, I think it was in July, or maybe the August, just before the Olympics started. Because I was really just like avoiding football kind of thing, because there was nothing good going on. I mean, Arsenal were just shit. All it was the little bits I was hearing was players leaving, so I was like, I don't care, summer, I'm going to try and get I got my tennis racket back, so that's why I didn't even care. I was just on some other stuff. But anyway, one day I was on the Guardian website, and I was going through the sports section, that's what it was. Everton had just signed Stephen Naismith, and there was some sort of dispute over the transfer. So then I was like, what's all this dispute? I dug into it a little bit more, then dug a little bit deeper, and found Rangers in the 3rd division of the Scottish Premier League. No, it's not even funny, because a lot of people's livelihoods have been ruined by someone's profligacy somewhere. But can you imagine how off my chair I fell to see Rangers had been relegated to the first? Sorry, not even that. Sorry. Rangers don't even exist no more. Yeah, that's what it was. That's what was nearly making me fall off my chair. Rangers don't exist no more. Rangers Football Club doesn't exist. Now it's Rangers Newco, and now they're in the 3rd division. And now, when you say Rangers are in the 3rd division, it's not, obviously we know Berwick Rangers are in the 1st division. It's, what? Rangers are in the 3rd? What the? What happened? Well, I did a bit more digging. Turns out, they got themselves into a bit of a financial pickle. Familiar tale, really. I mean, the old have a bit of European success, get some big players in on big contracts, success dries up, money dries up, etc, 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 etc. So for one reason or another, they found themselves in the Scottish 3rd division. But the main point is, are events in Scotland a forewarning of things to come? And by that I mean, are we going to see a situation where a Rangers game in the 3rd division, one Rangers game, can attract more fans to it than the entire number of supporters at every Scottish League football ground that weekend? I hope I said that right. Let me go back through that in my head. Are we going to have a situation where, like in Scotland, one Rangers game in the 3rd division at the weekend can attract more fans than all the rest of the Scottish League programme? Yeah, that's right, yeah. Because in one stadium, there were more fans than anywhere else in the whole of Scotland combined. In a word, no, we're not going to get to that point, because there are far more sizable clubs here, and that's pretty much it. I mean, the Scottish model is showing itself to be pretty unsustainable long run, and this is why they're so desperate for Rangers to fly back through the leagues, and this is why they need Rangers to fly back through the leagues, because without the revenue generated from the TV of the Old Firm derbies, as we can see, no one cares about Scottish football, even in Scotland, apart from at Rangers and Celtic. So, this is a recipe for disaster, potentially up there. But it's not so much that I believe that exact sort of scenario could happen in England, because as I've just said and as I've just explained, it pretty much can't. But there's a lot of big clubs carrying a lot of big debt at the moment, and if any one of these big teams goes out of business, it hurts the Premier League image badly. That's one thing. The second thing is, for me, this Premier League model relies on the the TV money continuing up at such a steep trajectory as it's on already. You know, I mean, I think it went up about 66% at the last bidding. Something like a 3 billion contract. So next time it's got to be about, what, 5 billion? And then the next time it's got to be 8 billion. Is that really going to keep on happening? And if it doesn't, what does that mean? You know? Because there's a definite culture in football where they're following the American model of giving these sports stars inflated contracts. And in a lot of these clubs, these wage bills make up the massive majority of their turnover or outlay, or whatever the financial terminology is that it escapes me at the moment. But yeah, as I say, I mean, if this TV money stops coming in and the contracts stop being paid out, does the talent go elsewhere, and does the league suffer for it? It's all shoulda, woulda, couldas and ifs and maybes and possiblies and whatevers, but you know, I think there's an example of sorts north of the border. Not the exact example that, obviously, as I've said, not the exact example that is being shown out there, but certainly there's food for thought there, I think. You know, and English football should consider its financial model, I think, because and it's not, this isn't a witch hunt against the players, by the way, because you know, those players work hard. It's not easy to be a Premiership footballer. We'd all be Premier League footballers if it was. But the current model as is in most football clubs is simply unsustainable. Like, other businesses have looked at it, concluded the same thing. Businessmen have come into football and looked at it and concluded the same thing. Like, it's obvious, to be honest, if you're running a business, yeah, and you're making money off it, and 70% of that money is going towards just paying your staff, you've got a problem, surely. Surely that's not even, like, I don't know, rocket science, I don't know. But, yeah, whatever. It's something to consider anyway, so I've thrown it out there. Maybe you've got your own thoughts on it. Again, please tweet me, I'd love to hear what you think. The Twitter address is @thelastwordldn. So anything you've got on your mind about anything I've said, maybe you think I'm chatting shit about something, just let me know, because I'm not perfect. I'm trying to learn as much as everyone else is, so tweet us up. The final thing I want to talk about, just quickly, because I haven't had the chance to go into this in as much detail as I'd like to, but I'm going to go into this quickly, and it's the vagaries of certain football terminology. I'm just going to concentrate on one this week, because there's one that I really don't get, and it's, you know those times when a defender flies into a pretty poor challenge, and obviously there's the gasp from the crowd, and the referee whips out his yellow or red card or whatever it is. And then the commentator goes, and that tackle was agricultural, to say the least. Why is it agricultural? Why is the tackle agricultural? I need to know. I need to go. I'm going on Google right now, yeah? And really, I should have planned this, but why is it an agricultural tackle? That is so weird. That's so random. Is it because there's grass on the pitch? I've never seen a cow do anything X-rated in terms of football tackles. I mean, I used to go to school in Sussex. I've seen cows having intercourse, but I have not seen a cow leave his studs in high above the knee. So, why is it called agricultural? I need to know. I'm just chatting breeze at the moment because my computer's particularly swag, and it's just reminding me of that fact. But it's such a funny one, isn't it? Agricultural. What could that possibly come from? The only thing I can think of is maybe in one of these non-league places, maybe something came out of somewhere and I don't know. I just need my computer to load up and give me these, because it's been plaguing me. You know, I've been thinking about this pretty much ever since I started deciding to do this podcast. Like, why do they say agriculture? What, of all the things you could say, that's so weird and random, mental. This is part of why I love the English language, really, to be honest. Never mind. Oh God. Right, so I finally got my computer cooperating. So why are some tackles described as agricultural? So weird. Right. Let's have a look at this. I don't really believe what I'm seeing here, but we're on Wiki Answers, so that's what we're working with for now. When I'm big and famous, I'll have a producer handing these things to me, you know, ones. So. All right. The answer here, well, the answer given here is generally agricultural equipment is perceived as being heavy and clumsy and crude. Thus, an agricultural challenge is a bad one. It's a bit boring, isn't it? It's surely got to be something deeper to this. Come on. I need more depth. I need more of a reason for it to be referred to as an agricultural challenge. There must be more. I'm going to look into that and come back to that next week. Anyway, last little bit, we're going to talk about the world of sport, and there's only one place to start, because England used to be the best in cricket, but they're not anymore. They've just lost to South Africa, and let's get the details right now. 1 second. Yeah, poor old England. I mean, I think it was ever since they went to number one, they were struggling, but not at the same time, which is weird and probably doesn't make sense. But then again, I don't know that much about cricket, so I'm just waffling at the moment. Anyway, England were the best in the world. They are unfortunately no longer the best in the world in cricket. I don't know whether that covers all forms of the game, but certainly in Test cricket it looks like they're not the best anymore. Unlucky lads. South Africa replaced them, I believe it is. And, you know, from what I could hear of the first Test, which wasn't that much, because unfortunately for them, this whole Test was pretty much going on during the Olympics, so it got completely ignored. But yeah, I mean, from what I was hearing in that first Test, South Africa were handing it to England, so yeah, it's probably the right result. Yeah, but I'm sure England will bounce back. Andrew Strauss seems to think that they will, so that's good enough. What's this? Augusta National gets first female. Oh, finally. Oh yeah, they've come out of the Stone Ages in America. This is golf. And this is the golf club at which they normally play the Masters. Apparently it's been open 80 years, I'm just seeing here, and they've never allowed women to be members of the club. Read into that what you will. But now they are. Maybe they, I don't know, need the money. Former US Secretary of State Condoleezza Rice and South Carolina financier Darla Moore will become the first women in green jackets when the new season starts in October. Yeah, good on you girls. You lot are pioneers. Yeah. Let's see, what else is going on there? What's this about Casey Stoner in the motor racing? Stoner finishes 4th despite huge crash. That's how he'd say it if he was reading it out. Well, probably not like that. Maybe if I remember, his voice is a little bit more weedy. But it's just as Australian. Anyway. Oh, look, he's on the track there. Oh, and he's waving his hand. Oh, and he doesn't look good at all. Let's just have a look at him. He's coming. Oh, whoa, whoa! Listen, you got to go on BBC and watch this crash. Because he went... Whoa! I tell ya. He's lucky. He's lucky. That did not look good. Right, apparently he got... This is Casey Stoner, by the way. Did he win last year's championship? I don't know. I don't follow MotoGP like that. But I know he was up there. But that looked butters. It says here he got torn ligaments, bone damage, and fractures in that crash. And looking at it, I am not surprised. Seriously, just go on BBC Sport once you hear this. Just go on BBC Sport. Click on MotoGP. Like, it will just be there. It will be there because it was Indianapolis qualifying and it was Casey Stoner. And he flew off his bike. Apparently he still went into the race after that. Rather you than me, mate. Don't know about all that. Crazy. Crazy. Anyway. I think I'm going to wrap it up there. So. That was the last word on all the week's action. Make sure you join me next week. I've got no idea what I'm going to be talking about next week. And that's part of the beauty of this podcast. But make sure you share this all with all your mates. Anyone you don't like as well. Make sure we get as much ears to this as possible. Because I want to turn this into your last word, as I said at the start. And not just mine. And that would be great. Don't forget, if you're not already doing so, make sure you're following The Last Word LDN on Twitter. Simple enough to remember. And yeah, I mean, I wish you guys all the best. I'm hoping that in time to come I'm going to have guests on discussing things with me, and that'll make it a little bit more interesting as well. And different other features as well. And just try and grow it really, and just try and make it into a thing for the people. So until next week, guys, take care and make sure you always have the last word. Good night.